Hello, good day, and welcome to Budman Ielts Academy again. My name is Babatunde Olaniran. Today, I'll be discussing with you another topic in the reading module of Ielts Academy. Of course, Ielts Academic and General asks the same type of question, so you can also apply it to Ielts General. So today, I'll be discussing matching of information with paragraph. Like I've said before, it is important for you to be able to recognize any question you want to answer, because if you don't know the kind of question you want to answer, how will you know the technique to use? So immediately seeing a question, you should be able to recognize, oh, this is this type of question. So if you have been following my class, I believe when you see a question in the reading mode, you should know that, oh, this is this type of question. This is list of heading. This is this is that. Now, I'll be discussing matching of information with paragraph today. Some people may call it matching of statement with paragraph. How will you know this type of question? I will tell you, and I will also show you. When you get to a question in the Ielts reading, and the instruction says, which paragraph contains the following information? When you see that kind of instruction, which paragraph contains the following information? And then they will give you some list of statements, maybe from question 1 to 5. Question 1, they will write a sentence. Question 2, a sentence. Question 3, a sentence. And the instruction says, which paragraph contains the following information? That is matching of information with paragraph. Matching of information with paragraph. What they are asking you in simple terms is, each of those statements, in which paragraph can you find them? In which paragraph of the passage can you find those statements? So, just like list of heading, if you have not watched my list of heading teaching, you can go and watch it. The paragraphs will be labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So, for example, if the first statement is in paragraph F, the answer to, maybe the first statement is question 1. The answer to question 1 will be F, because you found that statement in paragraph F. So the alphabet in front of the paragraph will be your answer. Now, that is it. That is matching of information with paragraph questions. Now you know what type of question I'm talking about. How will you approach it? I will be giving you my tips as well. I'll be telling you how to solve this question. The first tip I will give you in this type of question, whenever you have this question and you have read the instructions, you are sure that this is matching of information with paragraph. The first thing you should take note is, before the statement, on top of before the statement, look at before the first statement, look at that place. Is there any special instruction? What do I mean by special instruction? Sometimes some of those questions we have NB. You may use any letter more than once. They will write NB. You may use any letter more than once, and then they will start writing the statement. Question 1, they will write it. Question 2, this statement. Question 3. So some questions will not have that. Some of those questions will have, some will not have. What is the implication of that statement? NB. You may use any letter more than once. Whenever you see that kind of statement, it means at the end of the day, when you finish solving your question, you must get 2 answers that will be the same. What do I mean by that? Why? I will explain. Now, you know, I told you there are statements. They want you to pick which paragraph contains those statements. That means when there is NB, there is that NB is giving you an hint that there is one paragraph among all the paragraphs. I don't know which paragraph it will be, whether A, B, C, or D, E, F. There is one paragraph that has two of those statements. That means if two of those statements are in that paragraph, let's say paragraph C now, the paragraph C has the first statement and the third statement. Let's say the first statement is number 1, the third statement is number 3. That means the answer to question 1 will be C, and the answer to question 3 too will be C. You must get two answers that will be the same in matching of information with paragraph that has NB. You may use any letter more than once. Now, at the end of the day, after solving your question, the whole question, and you didn't get two answers that are the same, and you have that instruction there, forget it. Some of your answers are wrong. You can never get everything. Mind you, you cannot get 3 answers that are the same, but you can get 2 that are the same. You can get another 2 that are the same, depending on the question. You can get 3 answers that will be the same in matching of information with paragraph, with NB. Your 2 answers must be the same. If 2 answers must be the same, if you have NB, you may use any letter. Now, in a question where there is no NB there is no NB. You just saw the statement, no NB. You will never, your answer must not, 2 answers can never be the same. You cannot get 2 answers. So if you look at your answer and you get 2 answers that are the same, in a question that doesn't have NB, know that some of your answers are wrong. That is it. That is my first tip to you. Now, how will you approach this question? How? Step 1. Don't read the statement first. Don't read any of the statement. Don't read it. So, the first thing you should do, since you don't know which paragraph contains this information, so you need to check all the paragraphs to know which one contains the information. So, you just go straight to the first paragraph, which will be paragraph A, because paragraph will always start from A, B, C, D. So go to paragraph A straight and read paragraph A. I have taught you how to read a paragraph. So if you have not listened to my list of heading, you can go there and listen to how to read a paragraph. So when you go to paragraph A, for example, if you look at this question, let us go to, I will use a question that has NB. You may use any letter more than one so that you understand what I'm talking about. So, if you go to paragraph A, what does it say? Let us look at it. So, if you don't know the passage I'm using Cambridge 15, test 2, reading passage 2. Cambridge 15, test 2, reading passage 2. So if you want to have it in front of you, if it is not clear on the screen, you can follow me. Just have the question and the passage in front of you and follow me as I explain this. Now let's read. The passenger pigeon was a legendary species. That's the first sentence in that paragraph. Flying in vast numbers across North America, with potentially many millions within a single flock. Their migration was once one of the nature's great spectacles. Now, if you look at those statements, the first 2 sentences is talking about pigeon, how they fly. Their migration was one of the nature's greatest spectacles. Sadly, the passenger pigeon's existence came to an end on 1st September 1914. They are now saying the passenger pigeon existence came to an end at a particular date. I hope you are getting this. It's a very clear thing. As long as you can read, you can pass ahead. As long as you can read the statement and understand, you can pass ahead. Now, so they came to an end on this day when the last living specimen died at Cincinnati Zoo. That is where the last specimen died. Now, geneticist Ben Novak is lead researcher on ambitious project, which now aim to bring the bird back to life. Somebody is working on a project to bring the bird back to life through a process known as de-extinction. Somebody is working to bring it back to life through a process known as de-extinction. I hope this is clear enough. Now, the basic premises involves using cloning technology. They are now explaining how he's planning. The basic premise involves using a cloning technology to turn the DNA of extinct animal into a fertilized embryo, which is carried by the nearest relative still in existence. In this case, the abundant band-tailed pigeon, before being born as a living, breeding animal. I don't know if you understand this place. They are trying to explain how he wants to bring them back to life. He wants to use DNA of extinct animal, using the clone technology to turn the DNA of the extinct animal into a fertilized embryo, which is carried by the nearest relative still in existence. And they told you the nearest relative is band-tailed pigeon, before being born as a living breeding animal. Now, passenger pigeon are one of the pioneering species in this field. Passenger pigeon are one of the pioneering species in this field, but they are far from the only one on which this cutting-edge technology is being tried. So this particular thing they want to do, passenger pigeon is one of the first they want to use, but it's not the only one they are trying to do that too. Now, I don't need to read this passage again. You already have an idea of what this passage is talking about. Now, you don't need full understanding of a passage. You only need to understand what the passage is talking about. Passenger pigeon, how they go into extinction. Someone is trying to working on things to bring them back to life, and so on and so forth. That's what this passage is talking about. As long as you know that, that is what is the next step. Now, don't forget, we are trying to know if any of those statements is in this paragraph. After reading this paragraph, you now go back to the statement. You go back to the statement. Now, if you go back to the statement, you will read all the statements one by one, all of them. See, when I say all, don't ever jump any statement. Even if you have picked an answer for that statement before, still read it. All the statements. And as you read, ask yourself, did you read anything like that in that paragraph? Did you? Now, and as you read, you must also bear in mind that NB, you may use any letter more than once, is giving you an hint that two of those statements may be in that paragraph. Now, let us read these statements one by one. A reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. A reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. Do they discuss how disappearance of multiple species could be avoided in that paragraph? How disappearance could be avoided? I don't think they discuss anything like that. Now, next one. Explanation of a way of reproducing an extinct animal using the DNA of only that species. Explanation of a way of reproducing an extinct animal using the DNA of only that species, Did they discuss something like that? Think about it. I think I saw something like that there. Now, if you want to confirm, you can quickly go back there and see. Is that what they are talking about? I'll go back there, but my eye is on question 15. I think they discussed something like that. Yeah. But despite that, you will still continue to read other statements. Because don't forget, you can get 2 statements in a paragraph. 16. Reference to a habitat which has suffered following the extinction of a species. Do they talk about a particular habitat that has suffered because a species went into extinction? I don't think they refer to any habitat that suffered. Now, the last one. Mention of the exact point at which a particular species became extinct. Mention of the exact point at which a particular species became extinct. I think they talk about something like that. Now, let's go back. So, I'm suspecting question 15 and 17. I can now go back to confirm them quickly. Question 15 says, explanation of a way of reproducing an extinct animal using the DNA of that animal, of that species. Is that what they discussed? Because I remember I saw something like that. So if you go to that exact place, the basic premise is involved using cloning technology to turn the DNA of extinct animal into a fertilized embryo. They are using the DNA of that animal. So that means I am right. The answer to 15 will be A. The answer to 15 will be A. Let me look at 17 as well. Mention of the exact point at which a particular species became extinct. This question is telling us that they mention a point where a particular species became extinct. And I saw something like that. So if you go to the beginning of the paragraph, they say, sadly, the passenger pigeon's existence came to an end on 1st September 1914. They mention the exact date the species went into extinction. So you can see that you don't need to look anywhere again. Question 17 and 15, they are A. They are A. Now, that is my answer for that. The thing about this kind of question is that, you know, in a normal question, you expected to solve for question 14 first, and then 15, and then 16. No, it doesn't happen like that in this kind of question. In this kind of question, you can even get the answer to question 17 first. So I'm picking A for 15 and 16. Now, I will go to the next paragraph and repeat the same process. So I will read the next paragraph. Let's read. In Australia, the thylacine, more commonly known as the Tasmanian tiger, is another extinct creature which genetic scientists are striving to bring back to life. So they are talking about another thing that the scientists are trying to bring back to life. There is no carnivore now in Tasmania that fills the niche. So there's no carnivore in Tasmania that fills the niche which thylacines once occupied. Explained Michael Acker. This is the person working on it, of the University of New South Wales. He pointed out that the decades since the thylacine went extinct, there have been spread in a dangerously debilitating facial tumor syndrome, which threatens the existence of the Tasmanian devil. Now, since when this animal went into extinction, there has been a problem. That's what they are trying to say. They say, he pointed out that in the decades since the thylacine went extinct, there has been a spread in a dangerously debilitating facial tumor syndrome, which threatens the existence of the Tasmanian devils, the island's other notorious residents. So, other residents of that place have been suffering because that particular animal went into extinct. Thylacine will have prevented this spread because they will have killed significant numbers of Tasmanian devils. If that contagious cancer has popped up previously, it will have been borne out in whatever region it started. The return of thylacine to Tasmania could help to ensure that devils are never again subjected to risk of this kind. So can you see the reason why they are trying to bring that particular Tasmanian tiger back to life? Now, once you read the paragraph once, if you are calm, you already know what that paragraph is trying to talk about. You don't need to read it again. Now, you will go back to the statement again and read all the statements one by one. Let's go back. Let's go back to the statement. Now, if you read the statement, you will read all the statement. Don't forget. And you must bear in mind that NB, you may use any letter more than once. Now, a reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. Did they discuss something like that? I don't think they discussed how disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. They are only talking about a species that disappear and other species are suffering. So, 15, explanation of a way of reproducing an extinct animal using the DNA of only that species. They didn't talk about anything like that there. Reference to a habitat which has suffered following the extinction of a species. Did you see we read something like that? They are saying they discuss something like that in that paragraph. Reference to a habitat which has suffered following the extinction of a species. We are coming back to that. 17. Mention of the exact point at which a particular species became extinct. They didn't talk about any particular point at a species. But 16, habitat that has suffered. So if you go back to that past paragraph, you will see that they talk about something like that. He pointed out that in the decades in the thylacine went testing, there have been a spread in dangerously debilitating facial tumor syndrome, which threatened the existence of the Tasmanian devils, the island's other notorious residents. Can you see? So that means we saw this in paragraph B. That means the answer to paragraph B will the answer to question 16 will be B. Can you see? But mind you, this particular question, you are fine. Sometimes you may read paragraph A and any answer will not be there. You may read paragraph B and any answer will not be there. So it doesn't matter. But surely between paragraph A and C, you will always get an answer. You will always get an answer. There will be an answer. So they have a way of arranging their question. This kind of question wastes time. But if you are the type that have studied IELTS very well, they have a way of arranging their questions so that the time you waste here, you will gain it back when solving another question. Now, we still have one question to solve. You will still continue to read. You will continue to read. Now, we move to paragraph C. If extinct species can be brought back to life, can humanity begin to correct the damage it has caused to the natural world over the past few millennia? The idea of the extinction is that we can reverse this process. The idea of re-extinction is that we can reverse this process, bringing species that... Now, the idea of the extinction is that we can reverse this process, bringing species that no longer exist back to life, says Beth Shapiro of the University of California, Santa Cruz Genomics Institute. I don't think that we can do this. There is no way to bring back something that is 100% identical to a species that went extinct a long time ago. A more practical approach for long extinct species is to take the DNA of existing species as a template. Somebody is suggesting something else. Ready for the insertion of strand of extinct animal DNA to create something new, a hybrid based on the living species but which looks and or act like the animal which died out. So somebody is saying that it may not be possible to recreate 100% of something that would look like the extinct species. That it's better to use an existing species that is identical and just mix their DNA together. the DNA of an existing species. Now, you have read this paragraph. Go back to the statement. All the statement. A reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. There's nothing like that in that paragraph. Explanation of a way of reproducing an extinct animal using the DNA of only that species. Now, some of you will see DNA there and you will pick that DNA as an answer. Now, don't forget, we already picked A as an answer to 15, but this one is also mentioning DNA. You need to be careful. Two answers may look similar, but if you look at this question, the question says DNA of the species, DNA of the species that went into extinction. So paragraph A discuss DNA of the species that went into extinction. But paragraph D said the DNA of the species that is still living. So that is why A will be the answer and not D and not C. Can you see? So when you come into any two answers that look similar, try to look closely to the question. At the question, you will see that you will see some keywords that will give you an hint to the right answer. So if you continue to read, reference to a habitat which has suffered following extinction of a species, nothing like that. Mention of the exact point at which a particular species became extinct, nothing like that. You can see that that paragraph doesn't have any answer. Now, for question 15 I was talking about, just let us assume that you picked the wrong answer before. You pick A for question 15. Reading it again now, we make you now pick the correct answer. But thank God, the answer we picked before was correct. So we still need to move to another paragraph because we have not finished solving all the questions. So you move to paragraph D. The complicated process and questionable outcome begs the question, what is the actual point of this technology? For us, the goal has always been replacing the extinct species with a suitable replacement. Explain Novak. When it comes to breeding, bantam pigeons scatter and make maybe 1 or 2 nests per hectare, whereas passenger pigeons were very social and will make 10,000 or more nests to 1 acre in 1 hectare. Since the disappearance of this key species, ecosystem in the eastern US has suffered, as the lack of disturbance caused by thousands of passenger pigeons wrecking trees and branches means there has been minimal need for regrowth. This has left forests stagnant and therefore unwelcoming to the plants and animals which evolved to help regenerate the forest after a disturbance. According to Novak, a hybridized band-tailed pigeon with the added nesting habit of a passenger pigeon could in theory re-establish that forest disturbance, thereby creating a habitat necessary for a great many other native species to thrive. Now they are talking about the technology now, and they are talking about a particular habitat that has suffered. Since the disappearance of this key species, ecosystem in the eastern US, they are talking about a particular ecosystem that has suffered. As lack of disturbance caused by thousands of passenger pigeons wrecking trees and branches mean there have been minimal need for regrowth. So those places are not regrowing. These are left forests stagnant and therefore unwelcoming to the plants and animals. It has affected the whole ecosystem, plants, animals. They are not being specific about a particular animal. All of them. Let's go to this statement. Don't forget, always read all the statements. NB, you may use N letter more than one. Read all the statements. A reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. I don't think they talk about something like how disappearance could be avoided. No. Explanation of a way of reproducing an extinct animal using the DNA of only that species. They didn't talk about that at all. Reference to a habitat which has suffered following the extinction of a species. My height is on this. They talk about a habitat which has suffered because of extinction of a species. 17. Mention of exact point at which particular species became extinct. Example, there's nothing like that. Now, don't forget, I'm saying 16 again. I've already picked an answer for 16 that look like it. I already picked B for 16 because in B, I saw that when Tasmanian tiger disappeared, there was a problem. But the problem was more like the spread of a disease. They talk about it in paragraph B. But I'm now seeing another keyword in paragraph D now that has all the keyword from the question. The question says, reference to a habitat which has suffered following the extinction of a species. So if you look at paragraph D, you will see habitat, you will see the whole ecosystem, all the terms related to the environment there. They said the whole plant and animal have been affected, the habitat, thereby creating a habitat necessary for a great many other natives. Now, you see that it is this paragraph D that is actually talking about what that question is saying. That habitat, the whole habitat, both plants and animal have suffered. So I would rather pick D for question 16. So instead of B for 16, you pick D. I intentionally did that because to tell you that you need to be reading all your statements, because you might have picked the wrong answer before because that thing look like the right answer. You now see that this statement is actually in paragraph D. So D will be the answer to 16. D will be the answer to 16 because D is actually talking about a whole habitat. C is talking about an animal that is being killed because a particular animal is not around, a disease killing another animal. So that is why D will be a better answer for this, not B. Now, we have not still answered one question, which is question 14. We will still read the next paragraph. Another popular candidate for this technology is the woolly mammoth. George Chop, professor at Harvard Medical School, a leader of the woolly mammoth revival project, has been focusing on cold resistance. The main way in which the extinct woolly mammoth and its nearly living relative, the Asian elephant, differ by pinpointing which genetic trait made it possible for mammoth to survive in icy climates of the tundra. The project goal is to return mammoth to a mammoth-like species to the area. My priority will be preserving the endangered Asian elephant, says Church, expanding their range to the huge ecosystem of the tundra. Necessary adaptation will include smaller ears, thicker hair, and extra insulating fat. If you read all those things, they are just unnecessary stories. So I like to go to the end of the paragraph. Now, this repopulation of the tundra and boreal forest of Eurasia and North America with large mammals could also be a useful factor in reducing carbon emission. Elephant punch hole through snow and knock down trees, which encourage grass growth. This grass growth will reduce temperature and climate. They are talking about how temperature can be reduced and temperature and mitigate emission from the melting. So, if you read this now, and you read all the statements, just the same thing. Go through all the statements. A reference to how further survival multiplicity could be avoided, nothing like that. The translation of a way of producing DNA of another animal, nothing like that. Reference to a habitat which has suffered, nothing like that. Mention of the exact point at which a particular species became extinct, nothing like that. So sometimes when you are sure of some answer you have picked before, you can just rush through that paragraph. You know the answer you are looking for. You will see that that answer is not there. So you go to paragraph F. Why the prospect of bringing extinct animal back to life must capture imagination. It is, of course, far easier. Although it's good to bring extinct animal back to life, it is, of course, far easier to try to save an extinct species which is merely threatened with extinction. It is easier to save an existing species, It is far easier to save an existing species which is merely threatened with extinction. Many of the technology that people have in mind when they think about the extinction can be used as a form of genetic rescue. Explained Shapiro. She prefers to focus the debate on how this emerging technology could be used to fully understand why various species went extinct in the first place, and therefore how we could use it to make genetic modifications which could prevent mass extinction in the future. I will also say there's an incredible moral hazard to not do anything at all. She continued. We know that what we are doing today is not enough, and we have to be willing to take some calculated and measured risk. Now, this person is saying is that instead of focusing our attention on bringing the extinct species back to life, why not focus the technology on how to avoid a species going into extinct? That is what this person is talking about in that paragraph. You go through the statement again. 14. A reference to how further disappearance of multiple species could be avoided. You can see that's in that paragraph, because that is the only paragraph that talks about, instead of why don't we avoid them going into extinct? Paragraph F talk about it clearly. So my mind is there. I will still read other statements. Explanation of a way of reproducing an extinct animal using DNA of an, there's nothing like that. Reference to a habitat which has suffered following the extinction of a species, nothing like that. Mention of the exact point at which a particular species became extinct. So I will pick F for that. I will pick F for that. Now, you can see we got F for 14, A for 15, D for 16, and A for 17. That is our final answer. Looking at that answer now, you can see that you got two answers that are the same. A, question 15 and 17. You must get two answers that will be the same. You will get two answers. If you have that instruction, NB, you may use any letter more than once. Take note of that. If you don't have that instruction and you got two answers that are the same, be sure that one of those answers is wrong, because you are not to get two answers that are the same. And one thing I also want you to note about this type of question is that there are some paragraphs that doesn't have an answer at all. Can you see? So some paragraphs are just there as a distraction. You can see I was forced to read all the paragraphs simply because I don't know where my statement is. So this is how to approach matching of statement with paragraph. And you can see it is very clear. Use this approach. Go into past question, go into Cambridge book, go into website. Go and look for matching of information with paragraph and use this approach. You will see that it will work for you. It will work for you. Take notes. Read all the statement each time. You can see I picked the wrong answer before, and then I saw another paragraph that looked like it, and I examined the two. I discovered that this is the right answer, and then I corrected myself. That is the essence of reading all the. There are some statements you will read. You will know straight away that this statement is not discussed in that paragraph. But there are some you have to look at again. So that is it. Thank you very much for watching. If you have not subscribed to my channel, kindly click and like the channel. Click on the subscribe button and like. When I drop a new video, you'll be able to receive alerts that I have dropped another topic. Thank you very much. See you later.